Hi everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to this week's Sketch Sunday Challenge. The sketch comes to you from My Favorite Things, which shouldn't be a surprise if you've seen any of my other videos. I usually do their sketch for the challenge, and this is what it looks like. I don't have my phone with me, so I just drew something out pretty roughly. This is the week name, and as always, I will have a link to this sketch below from My Favorite Things site. So I tried this card twice before, and I didn't like the results. I liked some of it, but it didn't come out the way that I envisioned it, so we're going to be using the Misty. So what I want to do is I actually want to take, since it's a cling mounted stamp, I want to take out the stamp pad that comes with it and put that to the side. And we are using the Happy Birthday stamp, background stamp from My Favorite Things. So what I have to do is I have to take off the backing for this because here is the cling mount. So what I want to do is just kind of line the stamp up here, even. We're going to want to put this stamp over here. I probably should have made this a little bit bigger, but I wasn't thinking when we could put it down, so we'll see how this comes out. So what we're going to do is we're going to stamp the background stamp onto this first, and then we are going to go over it with the stencil. I tried to do it the other way around, and it just wouldn't work. So I am going to ink up this Happy Birthday stamp, and we are using the My Favorite Things Gumdrop Green Hybrid ink pad. And I'm going to hate this because now I'm going to get ink on my grid paper. I know there's a bunch in there and you can get new ones, but for some reason that just bothers me. I'm trying to overcome it with my art journal too. I have such a phobia of making a mess, which I know people in my life will laugh at me for that because as you can see, my craft room is a mess. And friends that know me know that I am not the most organized person ever, but for some reason, having this kind of stuff, dirty bothers me. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm pressing it in here. And really the reason that I should have used the magnets is because if the paper shifts at all, I would be able to stamp this down in the exact spot that it was in. So let's just carefully take this up. And it looks like it had an almost perfect impression. So there you go. So you're not really going to be able to read a lot of these words. I'm going to take this cling off. I am going to put the magnets back. When you're using the Misty, make sure that the magnets do not touch each other. They tend to pinch your fingers. They've been pinched several times. They go neatly back in here, and they are very, very strong. Okay, so now we have our background. Now what I want to do is I want to use this Heidi Swapp stencil that came in a package. I got this the other day it was in the clearance section at Michael's, and it comes with a rose and rose petals. So now I'm going to try to make this as even as possible. I just want to make sure my lines are straight on the back. And then I'm going to use some new pieces of washi tape to tape this down into place. Hopefully this is even. Try to tape it down on the sides as well. And then we are going to tape it down onto the mat. So now I don't know if you're going to be able to see the words through the Distress ink. This will be an interesting experiment. So I'm going to be using the Distress ink in Mermaid Lagoon. I think this is such a pretty blue. I'm trying to, again, to go with new supplies. This is new. This Mermaid Lagoon is new. The dye that we're going to use is new. The background stamp, I've used that a couple times, but not as much as some of my other supplies. Okay, so now you're not going to, hope you may be able to see what I'm going to do. And I'm going to hold this down and I'm going to start on the nonstick craft mat to make sure that I don't get harsh lines with this. Now you can see the words through it, but it just is like a faded background. But now that it's drying a little bit darker, I don't know if you're going to be able to see them. They just be faded. I kind of don't want you to be able to see them because it'll be going for the effect that I originally wanted to do, is these bands of color and these bands of words. But if you can see it through, there's nothing that, I mean, it's whatever. This is one of those projects that I had an idea in my head, and when it comes to executing it, it didn't turn out exactly the way that I planned, which happens with the majority of my projects. I have a feeling a lot of artists feel that way too, that when they start to make something, it's one way in their head, and then it turns out to be completely different. Okay, so you can kind of see the words through a little bit, but it's not going to bother me. So we take this off. There are the bands and there are the words. So you're not really going to be able to, I mean, you can read some of it. I'll take the washi tape off the back. But you have to kind of really get close to read what it says. And it's just birthday words repeated over and over again. So for the card base, we are going to use a pre-made card base, which is, now these are from, I believe they're from either Michaels or AC Moore, and their card bases are not exactly A2 size cards. They are a little bit smaller than that. They're 4 by 5.5. Traditional A2 size cards are 4 1/4 by 5.5. So they're 1/4 of an inch shorter on the one side than regular A2 size cards. So I chose a piece of green cardstock to go with the green writing on here. And this actually, I'm so impressed how smooth it is. It's the Recollections paper pads that I got on sale for Christmas. I think I got them for like 99 cents. And they are beautiful. They're nice and smooth. So I figured I would mount that on this. So the green piece is 1/8 of an inch smaller than the card base, and then the white piece is 1/8 of an inch smaller than that. So the white piece is 1/4 of an inch smaller than the card base. So we're going to put this down. I'm using this tool right here is my ATG gun. I'm using that to put the adhesive on the back of the white cardstock. I'm lining it up. I try to line it up on all 3 sides, and that way when I press down, it's about as even as I can possibly get it. So that's going to be the background. Now, I used this Brothers die. This is from Simon Says Stamp, and there's brother, uncle, I believe, and nephew in this one, and then there's a grandfather, son, and something else in the other set. They have the female and male versions of all of these, and I got these a while ago when they were all on sale. And even though it says brothers, this is for my brother's birthday. So what I want to do, I went and cut it out of that same green cardstock 4 different times. So instead of cutting the S off before I put them together, I'm going to put them all together and then cut it off so the S is cut off in the exact same spot for each of these. So I'm going to move the card base to the side, and I'm going to take my Zig 2-way glue pen, which is what I use for adhering all of these die cuts. Now, I know that some other people will use the Xyron. I don't have that. For me, I feel like it wastes a lot because unless you're putting a bunch of things in at once, I feel like it doesn't really pay off to do that. I'm sure it makes life a lot easier than trying to glue these all together. And I'm trying to line everything up, which is also a pain. The other thing that you could do is glue together 2 pieces of cardstock and run it through your die cut machine and see if that will cut 2 layers at a time, and then that way you only have 2 to glue together instead of 4, or however many you're doing. Okay, so now I'm going to put glue on the front of this one. Do the same thing, and I'm not worrying about the S because we're going to cut that off. These are very, very intricate die cuts, but they come out of the die so nicely. If they do happen to get stuck, I did use my pick-me-up stick. There's a little poking end on the tool, and you can just poke through the holes in the back of the die, and they will very, very easily come up. Okay. Alright, the last one just goes on top of this. And then once that is on, I did this just to give the die cut a little bit more dimension, and it'll also make it, it'll make it stick off the card a little bit, but since it is so delicate, for a manly card, I wanted it to have a little substance. Okay, so now the R, I want to pick a place in the R to cut them all off, and just cut through all 4. There we go. So now the R, it doesn't say brothers, it just says brother. So there you go. There you have the die cut. And you can see it is a little bit glossy because of where the glue is, but it will dry clear. Alright. So this is where we're going to be putting, where that circle in the die, and in the drawing is. We're going to put that right there. So I am actually going to use my ATG gun again to put adhesive on the back of the green mat. This is sticky. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing and line it up on 3 sides, and that way it should be almost even all the way around. Okay. And now what I want to do is take the Zig 2-way glue pen, and I want to put glue all over the back of this multiple die cuts. And then I'm going to stick it onto the card. It may take a couple of seconds for the glue to actually adhere to it. So if you're having trouble with that, you can always take an acrylic block, which I just happen to have over here, and put that down over top of it. The weight of that will actually hold it down onto the surface and let the glue have a chance to adhere to the paper. For the inside, we're going to use the sentiment, "It's Your Day, Get Your Cake On," from the My Favorite Things Delicious Birthday stamp set by Lena Lamb Designs. And I cut a piece of green cardstock to be an eighth of an inch larger than the white piece, like the front. And it's 3 1/4 by 3 3/4. So we are going to use the same exact ink color, if I can find this gumdrop green from My Favorite Things. We're going to use that to stamp the sentiment on. I'm going to just try to get it on here straight. I could have used the Misty for this as well so that it would be in the perfect position, but I know that My Favorite Things stamps tend to stamp fairly well on, even if it's your first time using them. Just a little bit. We're going to use the ATG gun again. Now, the ATG gun I have here is This is non-acid free. So the one that you want to use for scrapbooking is the acid-free kind. And I have another roll of it. So this is what the acid-free one looks like. It's the white rolls. And I know I say that in most videos, but I know that some people have been confused about that, which one to use on what surfaces. Okay, so now that block actually did a really good job of holding that down. So then I'm going to use the HEG gun again to put the interior together. I'm going to place it kind of as centered as I can. And I may go through, let's see, there's some really cute birthday candles in this, so I'm going to use this. And again, using stamps and things that I've never used. I've used things in this stamp set, but I've never used the candles or that sentiment, get your cake on. Thought that was really, really cute. Put them down at the bottom. So that's how the inside came out. And this is the front. A relatively simple card, but a bunch of different techniques that we used. And I think that it came out nice. So this is my entry for the My Favorite Things sketch challenge for this week. If you guys play along and submit something, feel free to link your video or send me the link to your card. I would love to check out what you guys have done if you're playing along. I don't know if anybody does these challenges. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below. And if you're not a subscriber, please feel free to subscribe. And I will see you again soon for another card video.